Hello, you're watching World Talks. My name is Sascha Fahrbach. The Vatican is stepping into the global debate on artificial intelligence, with a clear warning that its development must not come at the expense of human dignity or deepen global inequality. A new encyclical calls for AI to be disarmed from military and economic rivalry, framing it as one of the defining ethical challenges of the modern age. We'll now discuss it all further with our guest, Michał Kłosowski, journalist, Catholic Voices. Good to have you back with us. Welcome.
Hello, and thanks for having me.
Michał, I just want to start first about this whole encyclical. Why is this so important to the Church, and why now?
Well, first of all, Magnifica Humanitas, because that's the title of this encyclical, is super important because that's the most important papal document. You know, papal documents, speeches, and texts are kind of hierarchical, and this one is the most important for all Catholics, the whole global Catholic community around the world.
And I think that's also significant. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but this was the first real major teaching that the Pope has released, the new Pope has released. So, I mean, is there any, let's say, accident that was to be about AI?
Well, that's definitely the first encyclical by Leo XIV. But the question is a little bit more complicated. You know, it's about the AI, but not only AI. It's about humanity and the whole world we are living right now, in which artificial intelligence is the most common language being spoken right now. Language, of course, metaphorically, because artificial intelligence, according to the Pope as well, is a tool, is a technology which will define the future of humankind. And of course, it's not an accident that the Pope Leo XIV wrote this encyclical framing the global problems and the whole anthropological issues around the artificial intelligence. But as I said, it's not that easy because the Church has been involved in the dialogue with the Silicon Valley, with those who are building and creating artificial intelligence since, I think, 10, 11 years.
Mm-hmm. And also interesting, as we mentioned now, Michael, you talked about language, and the language that also was used here, and the Pope saying here that he wants disarm artificial intelligence. He wants it to be disarmed. So just as significant of that, and what does that mean, you think, practically? I mean, we already have so much technology involved in cyber and defense, etc. I mean, can it really be done?
Yeah, well, the thing is that the Pope is reading here that AI, it's not only like a technology, it's a tool and source of power. So that's why he said that it has to be disarmed. It's not only about the military use of artificial intelligence, and we all know that, for example, Israeli army is using AI to target people in Gaza and elsewhere. But also it's about disarming AI from this idolatry of power, because what Pope Leo XIV said yesterday during this presentation in the Vatican, I was there, and he said very clearly, it's not only about the military use of AI, but also about all attempts of those who are in power, in charge of AI, to rule, to govern without democratical elections, for example. And it's also about disarming AI from this this aspiration to rule the human will.
Mm-hmm. And speaking also of language, once again, I want to ask your sense. Also, we heard a lot about this, and it's also mentioned this Tower of Babel, but Tower of Babel syndrome. So explain a bit more what you meant by that.
Well, it's one of the first images which are opening this encyclical. We do have here two images, Tower of Babel and Civita Dei, so the city of God. And those two images are confronted by the Pope, who is saying that right now we are building the Tower of Babel, which is a biblical metaphor for the kind of like a human attempt to be bigger than God, to be more important than God, and to be self-governed without any emotions, any problems, any difficulties. And on the other side, the Pope is showing us Civitas Dei, which is, of course, the title of St. Augustine, a famous book written during the siege of Rome, which is also super important because back then, those 2,000 years almost, everybody thought that Rome is eternal city. And then there were people who were attacking Rome, and there was a siege of Rome, and the Rome fell. And during this time, St. Augustine wrote his book, A Civitas Dei, a city of God, in which he stated that it's not power of humans which has to be the most important and which has to be governing itself, but also there are forces of nature, God, the relations between people who are the same important as the power of will and reason.
Mm-hmm. And also, I mean, we talk now about symbolism and what it means. I think symbolic also was the presence, I believe, of one of the co-founders of AI's top technology from Anthropic. So what do you make of that? I mean, that also changes the message, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. You know, Christopher Oleg, who was there with us, was super gentle. He was super, calm, and his statement was very short, to be honest, but it was super significant. Also because, as you mentioned, he is one of the founders of Anthropic, which is one of the most important AI corporations from the Silicon Valley. But what he said there is even more important than his presence with Pope, Professor N. Rowlands, and cardinals of Vatican, because he said that people in Silicon Valley created, the engineers, something they are not fully controlling. And it was super important, and everybody in the Aula of Synod were shocked hearing this, because what he said was, we need a pope, we need regulations, we need ethical framework, because without it we won't be able to govern ourselves, not only AI, because we have created something which is not fully controlled by us. And he was super humble saying that, but the significance of these words are more and more important when I'm thinking about it, because he was literally asking Pope, religious leaders, those who are there in the Aula of Synod, professors, diplomats, we can call it all people of goodwill, to help them, engineers in Silicon Valley, not to create something which will be unstoppable with governing and ruling the humankind.
Mm-hmm. But then also at the same time, it's something of one thing to talk about spiritual matters, and now going into this direction, also something new for the church in a way. But nevertheless, how do you think it's going to be ultimately listened to? Do you think that industry will now listen and take those warnings to heart?
Well, let's be clear. Every technology is connected with money. Okay, and the Pope is writing very clear that AI cannot be only a tool of making money, and it is this right now. Okay, the Silicon Valley companies are super rich. Those who are inventing, working in the field of artificial intelligence are richer and richer. But the Pope is saying it cannot be like this. It's too important for all humankind. Artificial intelligence to be only a way how a few are making money on the back of millions of billions of other people. And I think this is super important as well, because yesterday I was following also Twitter, or X currently, which was full with quotations of Magnificat Humanitas, posted not only by priests and people connected to the church, but also by those who are inventing new technology. I mean, even one of the founders of X, which is Jack, he's called Jack on X, posted the quotation from Magnifica Humanitas. A lot of professors, academics from around the globe are posting the same, like some quotations from Magnifica Humanitas, not only Catholics. So I think that it already has a huge potential to give a different framework for the whole industry.
And just really quick, I know we're conscious of the time, just give us your main takeaway, one sentence that you heard from the Pope perhaps yesterday that really stuck with you.
Don't be afraid about technology. Use it and make it more human. That's the most important sentence from this Magnifica Humanitas encyclical. Don't be afraid of technology, make it more human.
All right, so that is going to be words that will be listened to, hopefully, as this technology develops. Thanks so much for all that. Really appreciate you always having you with us here. Michał Kłosowski there, journalist from Catholic
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching. That concludes World Talks, but stay right here on TVP World for more. Goodbye.